I do want to keep it open if you have questions to ask them. It's not just us talking, so keep that in mind. But I guess to start, you want to start talking about the comic book? I think that's the main thing that people are looking at. So
over here on this wall, this is a complete comic book I did, I guess, sometime last year, maybe about this time last year. And I've got it on the wall, presented in page order, because I don't think I've ever seen an exhibit of original comic book of a whole story before. And I chose this particular one because of the kind of comic I was trying to do. I was trying to do something that wasn't typical in comics, in that the person that wrote the story doesn't write comic books. She writes short stories, and they're usually kind of creepy and psychologically complex. And so, and essentially she just gave me her blessing, and I became kind of the director and just broke it down into a comic. And so it's kind of told from her point of view, which is real rare in comics to begin with. But I drew it, and then I tried to keep to the spirit of her original short story. And so far, it's, I've gotten a lot of good responses from it. And I was thinking back to the days when I was a kid growing up, I had to sneak comic books into my house because my mom hated them. And so that made them even way more attractive to me. And so all of that stuff is really, a real influence on me. I don't want to overstate this comic book as being some great literary, achievement, or that any new boundaries were broken. In fact, I tried to stay within certain confines of the genre while I was doing it, but I was hoping I was able to inject some satire, a lot, something for everybody in there. And whether I succeeded is, of course, up to whoever reads it. And so there it is on the wall. Read it at your leisure. And then I drew a card. I messed it up and completely pasted it over and redrew it. And so of course it's real bright. It was a police car. But other than that, I hope that the comic book speaks for itself. So, but that was the main thing that I wanted to show. Because one, I thought, well, I've never seen an exhibit of comic book art, so I thought, yeah, why not mine? Well, the story basically, it has zombies in it, but it's not. Zombies are real cliche. They're everywhere. They've been done to death. All that. The zombies in this story are they're everywhere, but they're really not the main part of the story. And when I read the short story that Megan wrote, my reaction was that the zombies were kind of a stand-in for contemporary society in general. Now, I don't want to try to get too metaphorical or too, that was enough for me to run with it. And then also too that it had a bit of this romance, and this marriage, this lady is in this marriage she doesn't want to be in, so she decides to kill her husband with a cup of coffee right as the dead are, rising back from earth and all trying to go home. And, so I kind of found that, kind of satirical and telling. And most of the visual stuff is stuff I came up with. I basically tried to stick to the spirit of her short story, and she was pleased with it when she saw it, so that was important to me. But, and the story's basically pretty simple. The lady kills the husband, he wakes up dead, he eventually figures it out, he walks back home, and they have their little talk, and he kills her, and then she wakes back up again. And eternal love, as it were. So that's the basic story of that comic book. And I'm working on some other comics one that I'm approaching entirely differently because it's already drawn. You know, it's just from stacks of drawings. A friend of mine who's a writer took some of the stuff and put it all together. And I thought, well, oh, this will be great. I don't have to draw anything new, you know, and I'll make money. And so I was like going through it, but some of the drawings, trust me on this, like, they're terrible. Well, they can't. So I have to redraw parts of it. So I don't know how it's going to turn out. You know, right now I hate it. I think it's just a piece of crap. But I'm going to see it through to the end, you know, and the fault lies with me. But that's what the main thing I'm working on present. And in the meantime, sometimes I do other things for other people. Like I did a logo for this Christian motorcycle group real recently. And, you know, and the reason, it's not because I'm necessarily Christian or care about motorcycles, but that the guy who was in charge